Savage. Real talk, no filter on Savaged Unfiltered. Savaged.
Alrighty, guys, welcome on into the show. I am your host, Michael Gardner, or I like to be called Savaged. My on-air personality that was given to me by a couple of the greats here in the industry. So thank you very much. I also want to say thank you to another sponsor I didn't get here. I kind of wearing the hat. So thank you very much, Amazon, for sponsoring the show today. I told them I wear the hat today. So if you guys are looking for some last-minute gift ideas, head on over to Amazon, guys. They are trying to. I mean, the guys over there, I give the hat to Amazon. Trying to get those orders out in time for the holiday season, the peak season. I think, right? Peak season, yeah, the peak season of what they call it. And they're busting their butt, trying to get those gifts out. So, hat tip to all the workers over there at Amazon. And also thank you, Amazon, for, sponsoring this episode. They only sponsored this episode, Joe. Can you believe that, buddy? Only one episode. That's all right. Hey, we'll take a sponsor when we can get it, right?
What was that about? You playing peekaboo with who?
Peekaboo? No peekaboo,
No.
Joe.
No, you said peak season. You know me. I can't pass the lame pun.
Yeah. So we see that you got your federal tyranny up there, huh? You're supporting the federal tyranny?
Yeah, well, it's
better change it. We got a sports guy on the show today, Joe.
Yeah, well, I don't have loaded in Restream the Detroit sports collage background I got, but this is the least problematic of all the backgrounds. Something's going on with the studio. Have not had issues with my background and my green screen for how long we've been using this now.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden today, they all want to get fuzzy and glitchy and ghosty.
I noticed that. I noticed that, Joe. I was I'm coming in perfectly fine. I don't know if you could. I mean,
well, you're not using a green screen, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I prefer my 1970s, background of a studio that real panels, But
yeah.
But yeah, so
well, again, I mean, I don't want people seeing the ugly couch back here, right?
God. It looks like you're going through a time warp. Did the drone activity kind of pick you up? Did they come from New Jersey, New York, Joe, and kind of
well, there are reports around Michigan of UFOs. Technically, they are UFOs. If they're there and they're not identifiable, they're UFOs. Doesn't necessarily mean they're interstellar beings or interdimensional beings, or as I call time travelers, interdimensional beings.
Yeah.
But they claim they're unidentified, and plenty of reasons. We'll get into that later.
Yeah, we'll get into that. That's another merry-go-round, But yeah, so guys, we're going to have a guest joining us here. He happens to be the original, I guess you could say the original producer of the sports network ESPN. And I seen him kind of pop up in our, direction here. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, I gotta check this out. Joe's the same way, you get these, I don't want, personalities, I guess you'd call them, but individuals that claim to who they are.
Yeah, we got to make sure they are the personality and not an impersonator. Yeah,
exactly, Joe. And I was, I went over and checked them out, and this guy is legit. And I guess you could say he is one of the founders of people, bringing it on in. So.
Yeah.
That's
well, you know how my OCD ADHD brain works. Now you said legit, so now the rest of the day I'm going to have that damn song too legit to quit in my head.
Oh my God. So without further ado, I want to bring him in. This is Peter Fox. Welcome to the show, Peter. How you doing?
Hey, hi guys. How are you
So there's
doing?
a fox in the hen house. But
Joe,
right?
Joe, it's about that coffee. Wow. Oops, I'm
No,
bouncing around.
this
Well,
is
I'm doing
me
well.
not
Thanks
on
for having me
coffee. Can
here.
you imagine if I did drink caffeinated coffee?
No, I can't.
So Peter, tell us a little bit about, obviously we'd like to understand the history of ESPN and, how it got its name, of course, and the original roots. If you can go that direction, I'm sure you can. I'm sure you have a huge story on ESPN and some of the origins of the network before of where it's at now, because ESPN is like it's huge. It's real. I mean, big personalities have made that platform of what it is. Naming big podcaster on there now, Pat McAfee, and countless others, just to name a few. Tell us a little bit about the origins of ESPN, sir.
Well, if you really go way as far back as you can, it would be uh, one guy got fired and the other guy had worked himself out of a job. So they were looking for something to do. And since they were up in Connecticut, and Connecticut is a rabid basketball state, they thought that they could do pay-per-view uh, Connecticut basketball uh, peddled around to the Connecticut fan base. And what occurred was the cost of renting then AT&T landlines to transmit video signals to cable companies was so expensive you couldn't make the numbers work. And as we were bemoaning that, a cable guy said to us, "Have you thought about the satellite?" And the question then rang loudly was, "What's a satellite?" uh, as it turned out, there was only one satellite in the sky at the time that would accept commercial television signals, that was owned by RCA Victor, then RCA. And there was one channel on it that was going uh, rather inexpensively, and those numbers would work amazingly. And when we talked to them, we couldn't understand why it was so affordable. And they told us that it was preemptible during a national emergency. And well, we looked at each other and said, national emergency, there ain't going to be no football. So we'll take one of those. and we did. They gave us 90 days to come up with the money, which was a good thing because we had between us maybe, when I say between us, I'm talking about the original three guys. I would be the fourth. They had about $9,000. And
$9,000. That was a lot of money back then, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it wasn't bad back then. Yeah, $9,000 is like nothing now, right?
Well, it wasn't enough then either. And
What was if I may stop you right there, Peter? You said it wasn't enough back then. What was the budget for that back then?
we needed about $20 million. And
Oh my God!
Well, when
yeah,
things first start, your microwaves were expensive when they started. Satellite service was expensive. It makes sense. When anything first starts, it's kind of on the high expensive land to pay off all the R&D and all that other stuff. So,
well, what happened was we found an angel investor who gave us enough money to pay off the satellite, at least while we developed a demonstration package that we went around the country trying to raise more money, get programming from the NCAA, and convince big brands like Budweiser and Schlitz that they should be buying time on our soon to be national network. And that angel investor job was to go and find the real money. And they had a co-investment in a property in Hawaii.
Michael Gardner, Uncut. From a loft-style studio in downtown Tampa brings you a show so raw, our production screams it out in the truth.
They were interested. And so after a mating dance, Getty Oil bought 85% of ESPN, and we had our $20 million and off we went.
Wow.
It was
So,
a rocket ride.
Yeah. So like after hearing it at first, it almost sounds like you guys almost lost the original concept of ESPN, through the budgeting. You said you obviously needed 20 million. It seemed like there was a struggle at first. So do you see that back then, if you guys weren't able to make that deal, we wouldn't have ESPN today?
Exactly. It was days away from not happening. One of the greatest days in business sports ever. I want to say I say days, but it's probably over maybe 48 to 54 hours. Remember, there's very little communications tools in business. Even the biggest law firms didn't have faxes in 1977, 78. And we had the NCAA, Getty Oil, and Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch saying, I will if you will, if you will, if you will, if I will, if you will. And so there was this frantic running around into airport business centers of lawyers with paperwork, putting those three deals together. If one guy was out, the other guy would fall out and it wouldn't happen.
Yeah,
So,
the term that comes to mind is suicide pact. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going alone, but if they're going, I'll join. Right.
Yeah, once that happened, we strapped in and off we went. And the very interesting part about that, the book that I wrote about the history, all of what I'm talking about happened within about 300 days. And there was a cadre of about 30 of us from Connecticut, basically, who pulled it off. And when we did, and all that money poured in, and Getty Oil had $20 million at risk, they said, are these yahoos from Connecticut able to do this? And the answer was probably not. Okay. And so what they did, and they did the very right thing, they went to New York and they shanghaied the president of NBC Sports and NBC's executive producer, Chet Simmons and Scotty Connell, respectively, and brought them. They were about ready, I believe, to lose a political battle to Don Ohlmeyer and his production company. So wow. they may have seen the handwriting on the wall and said, "Ooh, look at this good exit strategy." So they came and they brought their minions with them. I shouldn't speak so badly about the guys that they brought because they were talented, but they came in with attitude and they pissed all over us Connecticut folks. And it didn't take long.
The New York attitude, right? Yeah, it's New York and California. The rest of the country is supposed to roll over for them. They're so high and mighty regardless of the subject. It's the pathetic attitude. So I could understand your attitude towards their attitude.
Well, it didn't take long for them to elbow most of the Connecticut folks out. Now, my golfing buddy and the founder of ESPN, Bill Rasmussen, and I stayed on for quite a long time afterwards, like I want to say 18 months. And there was another, Lou Palmer, who's since passed away, who stayed on for several years. He was an on-air talent. But most of, I call us Espionauts.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it is.
I like
cool.
that term. I'm
Thank you.
usually the one making up new terms. So,
Well, I coined it, and it's in my book that I'm about to plug. For many years, I felt that I kind of did pretty well leveraging my role as the founding executive producer, and it wasn't so much about me, but it was about a bunch of people that I recruited for that early stage who never got a thank you or never got a public attaboy. And so that's what I wrote the book about. I wrote about those people. And actually, the book ends when ESPN signs on. Because
what do you mean by that, Peter? If I may chime in, sir. You said it ends when ESPN signs on. What is that?
My story about those people in that 300 days between when we had the idea and when we threw the switch and went on the air full time. It was under a year from start to finish. When I say finish, of course, from that point on, ESPN grew into this mammoth sports network.
Once it got going, pretty much everybody knows the story at that point. So it's like the old TV series 24, but 300 days.
Exactly. I'm sitting at my desk. I'm looking at 9 other books written about ESPN, and they all basically start. They start about that time, and they talk about how big it grew.
Yeah, I have a question for you, if I may, Peter. Because I'm learning a lot about ESPN and of some of our viewers here on a couple of the platforms we're live streaming. So thank you very much, guys. If you want to know anything about ESPN and the origins, get the comments in, and we'll plug them into the network here. I'd like to ask a question in its original roots, and possibly networks that may have wanted to pick up ESPN. Was there any network pitches in the beginning of its ideas and where it was going to go there?
No. The pitches were to cable systems. Cable television was just coming into its own. And satellites is really what cable, if you'd stop and think about it, is really only a signal delivery system. And at the time, it was going to homes that generally lived in the outskirts, and they didn't get good television signals over the air. So it was improving the signal. And when satellites came along, it changed the ability for cable systems to have, in the old days, it used to be ABC, NBC, CBS, PBS, and maybe an independent station that ran movies and old sitcoms. When the satellites came in, it allowed, because cable always had the ability to do 500, 600 channels, but they had no channels to fill that hole. When satellite television came in, which would deliver a programming signal across the country at the same cost, it was a no-brainer.
Straight from the green room to the crazy room, Savaged and Jokester Joe.
We had 3 satellite dishes where they received signals off the satellite. We had to buy those for cable companies.
Oh wow! How much did they cost, Peter?
Yeah, well, it wasn't that much when you stop and figure out, 10,000 people paying $60 a month. It adds up pretty quick.
I mean, wow.
Yeah,
So,
back then too. A lot of they're all going to streaming now, but like here in Detroit, the Red Wings created Pro-Am Sports Station Pass. We had, and you got your own little satellite dish to put on you could get 10 different dishes on your roof to get different people broadcasting through the satellite until they then all figured out, well, it's more economic to sell their signal to the cable operators and have them deliver it.
Well, I like to think that what we did is more than just a sports story. It's a business story.
Yeah, very much.
The model that we built was followed by, of course, Ted Turner and CNN and MTV and the History Channel and the Golf Channel and the Tennis Channel, and the vertical distribution of a given subject became a very workable and profitable thing to do. Right now, as you mentioned, keep your eyes open because streaming is readjusting that.
Oh yeah, we're seeing that right now. Yeah, Peter, we're seeing that right now with a transition phase. With big networks like Hulu and Netflix, including Amazon. And it's sadly it's going to put cable television out of business, and it already is. I mean, people are merging into the streaming services because people don't have time to watch live television anymore. Sadly.
A lot of the cable networks, like here in Wyandotte, has its own cable. I don't. I use a dish. But look at DirecTV. They're eliminating their dishes and going all streaming. Now, I think Dish and Direct are merging, so who knows what all will happen there. But Wyandotte Cable, indeed, is phasing out all their cable and going, coax delivery to streaming delivery, because they also then started their own internet provider, and they're busy trying to get 1 gig fiber through the city, so everything will be streamed over 1 gig fiber. So it makes sense in one hand, but a lot of people don't want to lose their DVR, and the TiVo, quote unquote, per se, for streaming isn't quite there yet. It's getting better, but streaming will be great once you can actually record what you want, because not all things are on demand stream. Some things still go live, and you want to be able to record those to then view at a later time.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. I mean, I would agree with that, but I would also agree that that they have to be careful in that aspect. If you get what I mean,
I'm a great believer in that the technology will work itself out. When we were getting started, cable was like a mom and pop operation, and then it became gobbled up by the conglomerates that John Malone and Comcast became. And then those people today are aching because of what streaming is doing. And like you said, Joseph, when streaming straightens out its recording and saving abilities, it will hit its heyday, which is not to say I certainly won't be around, but who knows what's going to obsolete streaming?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I
just
don't
the
want to give
national.
up my dish. I like the setup I got, but unfortunately, like I said with DirecTV, they're terminating delivery. They are going all streaming, and now with that merger. But I've got to ask a question before we get to the end, because I'm confused about something. Why is there an antivirus program running on a sports channel? And if you don't get the joke, I understand.
I
John
don't get the
McAfee.
joke.
Yeah, John McAfee, the antivirus company versus Pat McAfee. I can never pass the lame joke, and I know there's a lot of people who run
Yeah.
McAfee software on their computer who got the joke. There will be a whole lot of other people won't get the joke either.
Yeah.
And
Before you answer that, Peter, I found that questionable too. Like it's ideal as a sports network, and I'm not bashing ESPN. It's a wonderful network. There's a lot of great personalities, like Joe just mentioned, a personality, the Pat McAfee show, which is probably the highest rated show or one of them right now on ESPN. Why is that? Why are they running that type of formula on a sports network? If you don't mind me asking, and Joe as well too. Well,
Ratings.
well, I understand the ratings though, but it's a sports network. Wouldn't it harm its environment as that type of caliber of a network or a channel?
Sure. Wouldn't the hooker on the side of the street put on bad lipstick if it got more customers?
right. I mean, and speaking of sports, you think LCA stands for Little Caesars Arena? It really stands for Lost Causes Arena. The Dead Wings, which of course goes back to the 70s, and the Pissed Offs are worthless up here now. But yeah, I look at MTV. I mean, you could barely find a music video on their channel anymore.
Well, they lost that, Joe. They lost that
Things
channel.
change and evolve. You know,
Yeah, they lost that channel when they were merging into the whole, soap opera of, the Jersey Shore and
reality TV
exactly.
stuff.
Yeah, that, Pauly Shore had a concept of it, going back to the 90s, but after that, it went out of control. It really did.
But ESPN has how many? There's like 5 ESPN channels on my satellite, and there's like 3 or 4 more streaming channels. So that's a hell of a lot of airtime to fill.
Yeah.
It is. It's a big hole. It's a big hole, and it's funny. We filled the hole back then by just taking the 6 football games that were allowed to air every week under our NCAA contract, and we'd repeat them about 10 or 12 times during the week.
Well, again, you didn't have a DVR to record then, so putting the same game on alternate times was a time shift opportunity for people who could. I can't see it Monday. If you're showing it on Wednesday, thank you. That made a lot of sense then. It doesn't now, though.
Well, you had a Betamax.
Well, yeah, I had. What's the other?
Savaged with Michael Gardner on Spotify.
Yeah. I still have my VHS player. So.
Yeah, good stuff, Peter. I mean, wow. As the original guys, the producer to the show. I mean, all this stuff. Where do you see ESPN going now in the 21st century of networking and sports content?
Well, I think what they did, the very best thing that they've done over time, Disney has the wherewithal to make it work. And
I see that merger with them. Yeah, do you think that's a good partnership with Disney at all, or?
I think the deep pockets and the expertise will prevail. Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
they keep losing money on these movies. They're not going to have as deep of pockets as they used to.
Well, speaking of movies, no, I'm not supposed to talk about that. Hollywood.
well,
but it's pretty exciting, I'll tell you.
Yeah. I'm sure you remember the Malice at the Palace, remember? But more recently, I spoke of the Pissed Offs at Lost Causes Arena. Stewart stood up to Lamoron James, which I then coined the Melee at the LCA to go with Malice at the Palace. We were hoping that bring a little of the Bad Boys days back, but alas, no, they're the Lost Boys rather than the Bad Boys.
The world is too politically correct now. Well, that may be changing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope to see some awesome. Not to say that ESPN needs improvements, but I guess you could say evolvement, right? To evolve into the next, I guess, phase of the network.
The brand is always going to be a leader in the game.
Sure.
Now that's what its heritage will forever be. It'll forever be what Chet Simmons called it when he walked in to Bristol in 1979. He said, "We are the worldwide leader in sports."
Yeah, that was a great tag. That was a great tag.
He laid the stake to it, and then decided to live up to it, to figure out a way to live up to it.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't there you were kind of the only leader in sports at first.
Right.
Then, you set that lofty goal, and I agree, you lived up to it eventually. But you mentioned movies. There are all kinds of sports-related movies. Bull Durham, Angels in the Outfield, the Miracle, Mighty Ducks. Speaking of Disney, right? You're with Disney now. Start showing the Mighty Duck movies on one of the umpteen million ESPN channels. You could branch out a little that way. Tons of sports movies.
True that.
Yeah, Peter, I have a question. I don't know if you know this or if it was brought to your attention, but there was rumors circulating. Obviously, big sports entertainment of pro wrestling, the WWE has weighed in their interest of ESPN over the years of possibly adding some podcasting on the network, similar to the Pat McAfee show, but more or less bringing some of their personalities of wrestlers on the network. I think there was a few, but as a test run, I think maybe like. What was it, Mark Calloway, The Undertaker, a few others. But do you see that network possibly going in that direction to kind of give it maybe a boost or a huge boost in ratings? Because you look at the WWE, and I mentioned WWE because it's the hottest thing right now in sports entertainment. The ratings are climbing, of course, with their move to Netflix in next month in January. Do you see ESPN doing anything like that?
Yes, I do.
You do? Okay.
I do only because do I like it? No, I'm a little bit more of a purist and a sportsman rather than a sports fan. I still play, and
the wrestling is more. The wrestling is more celebrity and showy and more. Entertainment, but
I would point out that the Tiffany Network, CBS on Saturday nights, after they would air I believe the Jackie Gleason show and some others like that, would have Saturday with Gorgeous George and Killer Kowalski.
Oh God, you're going back now, Peter. Wow, you're bringing us down memory lane of professional wrestling.
But a lot of three major networks, and Saturday night, that's pretty expensive real estate.
Yeah. Yeah, our audience out there, a lot of those names you dropped, they're all going, who? Kowalski ham or sausage?
I, I love doing that to people.
Yeah, he's given I wouldn't say a teaser, but he's what would you
Yeah.
call it, Joe? Something. There's a word for
Yeah.
it.
No, you know me too. I usually throw in a lot of old references that go over people in our audience's heads too. So I love it. Even though never was much of a wrestling fan, but I recognize it because I appreciate the celebrity aspect of that.
Well,
Uh,
he mentioned some big names. Of course, we're going to be bringing on a professional wrestler. Actually, two. There's one pending. We're just waiting for a date from her. I don't want to give names too much, but she's pretty well known there in the wrestling industry. And then we're also bringing on the legendary Hulk Hogan on the show, which will be a Raw, not in studio, but it will be a Raw, basically interview right at his beach shop there in Clearwater,
they
Florida.
make ointments for that now, Michael. If you're raw.
Oh no, I don't have that problem. Not yet. I'm still in my 40s. I don't have that issue yet.
You know me. Can't
Yeah,
you set up the joke? I
I
had to
know.
go there.
I know, Joe. I know.
I,
So,
I,
as
I,
we kind of close it
I
up with
don't
you,
think,
Peter. Yeah, good, sir. I'm sorry.
well, just one quick point. I don't think that there's much difference. Oh boy, I'm going to get a lot on this one. I don't think there's much difference between wrestling and the wonderful athletes that are wrestlers and gymnastics.
In
The
a
wonderful
way, I understand what you're saying there.
performing
Yeah.
entertainment. Are they competing against each other? They're it's like figure skating. Come on, it's wonderful
Well,
entertainment.
Peter.
So is
You
the
know,
ballet that the professional wrestler is showing us.
Yeah, Vince McMahon. I mean, he doesn't run WWE anymore. It's sold over to a company. I think it's TC something. TC. It's affiliated with UFC. Dana White and Tony Khan actually own the company now and run the company alongside with Triple H, Michael Levesque, and all that. But Vince McMahon at one point he had a vision of merging the two companies at one point or another. I don't know if it was contract issues or what, but it had to be. Obviously, it never happened. But I
It was
would like to
probably because
see WWE and
they were both
yeah, I
from
would like to see the
Connecticut
two
too.
companies. Yeah, yeah.
Make it like the NFL, right? The NFL and the AFL, two different leagues merged. You got the two conferences. Turn wrestling into a two conference kind of thing, and then have a playoffs and a Super Bowl. Oh,
They're,
we're not
they're
allowed to
trying.
use that term.
They're trying, Joe. I mean, you see, like like the personality Pat McAfee. He'll plug the events sometimes of Raw and SmackDown, and of course their move over to Netflix. But I'd like to see more podcasts. From possibly UFC and WWE, and including the other territories too. And any sports entertainment industry in that bracket. Use ESPN because of where it's come from to where it's at now. I mean that would be tremendous. Going on ESPN, having its own podcasting channel, maybe on Roku or Hulu or Netflix, and basically you can check something out of possibly Hulk Hogan or Shawn Michaels or any of these personalities on ESPN. That would be tremendous. I would love to see that, but obviously it's the contracts and negotiations. So as we kind of close it up with you, Peter, you mentioned your book just briefly. I'd like to get some small little detail as we close it out on possibly where they can get it at, purchase it at, the formats and all that. If you'd like to plug that'd be great.
It's simple. You're wearing one way. Amazon has it.
Well, I'm wearing something that the company sponsor. I promised them I'll wear it, but yeah.
Did you kind of set me up for that?
Yeah, 80% of all books today are sold through Amazon. Whether if you like Bezos or not, you got to be there because 80% of all books are sold there these days.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously Amazon's one. You got to make sure you're carried by Booktopia in Australia to sell. I do well in Australia for some reason with my Terror Strikes book through Booktopia. So make sure your book's carried through them.
Well, Joe,
thank you. One more. If you'd like an autographed or a gifted copy, I'd be happy to mail it to you, and you can order that at earlyespn.com.
Yeah, I might take up that offer because I want to check this book out. I mean, obviously, I'm a big sports guy. I love sports. Yeah, but Peter, it was great having you. I really appreciate the history and some of the behind the scenes of the network in the early heydays of it. And what's next for Peter Deuce? Peter Fox, excuse me. I had your name right.
Peter Ducey.
I almost said Peter Ducey. Did you see that?
You were gonna, right?
Oh,
Because his last name is Fox. And that makes perfect sense that would come out that way.
I almost said it because I had that Peter, and I'm like, he's a media guy. And, of course, Peter Fox here is, a media guy, too, and, a producer and everything. And I'm like, oh, shit. Coming out, and I stopped right there at the – So anyway, yeah.
But I knew where you were going. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's next for Peter Fox?
There are two answers. One is I'm on call to be consultant to a Hollywood group that has optioned the book and are developing it as a feature film.
Oh, wow.
That'd be very interesting. A docudrama, hopefully better than the SNL movie was.
No, not a document. Not a document.
The origins of SNL, that sucked.
More like Air is what they're talking about.
A man so savaged, even the guys over here on Spotify are timid to question his tactics.
Victor Bergonzoli, he is CEO of SportsEdTV.com. And they are the ESPN of sports instruction. And they're about 4 or 5 years old, and they are top shelf.
All right. Well, I'm gonna take that offer up, Peter. Yeah.
I do help them out from time to time.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time, sir. I appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing your story, with the affiliation with ESPN. Guys, you just heard Peter Fox, one of the originals and the producers of ESPN Network, and everything. I appreciate it, Peter. Thank you very much, sir, for coming on today.
Yeah, Peter. Before you go, yeah, I'd like you to go next time you see Pat McAfee and do the antivirus joke and see if he gets it.
Joseph,
now that I've explained it,
I can promise you I won't do that.
Why? Doesn't he have a sense of humor? Did we get some savage, unfiltered raw there? Pat McAfee has no sense of humor. Is that what you're saying?
I think it's probably because he does have a sense of humor.
Hold on. I hope Pat McAfee, if he's listening here on X, because everybody's on X now, right? Twitter X. Pat McAfee, I'm going to do something for you. Let's go. Anyway, yeah, I appreciate it, Peter. Thanks very much, buddy, for coming on. All right.
Take care.
All righty. All right. Wow. I mean, great stuff. Before we bring in our next guest, he's been in this damn digital green room for 40-something minutes. I appreciate the patience with him, but he's a podcaster, so I mean, I'm sure he has some patience, right? So more patience than I have. I wouldn't stay in a green room for 45 minutes. I'd be like, fuck this guy. I'm going to reschedule.
Yeah. I don't, you know me, I don't have any patience, but I never did get a medical degree to have patience with.
Well, Joe,
Bum.
see, this is exactly, man. This is why I like doing these live streams, because they could see, now the behind the scenes, before we go into the next, episode. Yeah. Guys, you're getting all a treat, before this goes on Spotify and, the coming days.
Unfiltered.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you're getting a treat.
Raw, unfiltered. Even that mid-break joke I told that won't make the audio air.
Yeah. So, wow. I mean, Joe, I did tell you, we have to be patient with him. I mean, Peter's not no spring chicken. I mean, he's up in age, seen a lot of shit in ESPN.
Well, I knew when I was telling the antivirus joke that he wouldn't get it, but I know some out there would, because, Pat McAfee, John McAfee, it was an obvious joke, and you know me, I can't pass on the obvious lame pun for the minute number of people out there who actually got it.
Joe, he's going to go back to ESPN there, and he's going to speak to Pat. I'm sure he is. And he's going to say, this guy Joe on Savage Unfiltered talked about some kind of virus that I don't even know he's talking about. Do you know what he's talking about, Pat? And Pat's going to look at him. Peter, what are you talking about?
I'd like to know, indeed, if Pat would get the joke. I wish he would deliver it back. Why is there an antivirus program on it? Yeah.
This had been a Truth Productions media episode. Thank you for listening.